remember we did a little research how far back it goes. It's been in the code for quite some time.
Yeah, so,
If you had a friend visiting, they could stay for several days.
but I'm thinking of the 30 days a year as opposed to continuous. It just seemed like 30 days was somewhat arbitrary from the standpoint of how it might be used. That's how I'm just thinking about if we were, somebody used it 3 times a year for 2 weeks when their mom came and then their dad
Sure.
came and then their kids came, that would put them over the limit. And so I'm just thinking about if it was
You'd like to see that lengthened?
well, I was thinking about the continuous weeks as opposed to the total year. So it's kind of like, hotels don't have, they let you stay for a certain period of time, or else it's a temporary living place, and it's more to do with the continuous time rather than it's the total time you're there during the year. So I don't know, that's why I was asking where it came from, because I thought of a couple of scenarios that would be a normal family usage, potentially, that would put us over the limit, and then you'd be sitting there like, well, it doesn't seem like it's, the intent of the ordinance in my mind is to make clear that it's not to be used for residence.
Correct.
All right, and then what we're doing is defining what residence means. And residence means, click, whatever we define it as. And one of the ways to define residence is to limit the time that you can use it.
Mhm.
The other is to clearly define residence. So I was looking back and forth with that when I was analyzing it. So I don't have an answer right now in terms of preference, but it would be one of the things I would ask us to look at as we think through this. Because the other question I had was around the secondary structure could be a residence unit. Is that the understanding or not?
A second dwelling unit,
Second
Right.
dwelling unit.
when located generally within the main building area, can have full-time occupancy.
Okay,
But it can't be in that back corner of the lot, 10 feet off property lines.
okay, that's what I read too.
Yeah, so it's
That's
a
what I-
location
Right.
differential.
All right, so then the question I had around that had nothing to do with this ordinance, but it had to do with our compliance with affordable housing for the
Yes.
city.
Yes.
All right, so that seemed to be in conflict to me in terms of our ability to provide an option for a homeowner, to provide a way for us to solve that problem for the city. So, and again, I'm looking for advice, I don't have a recommendation on this one. So,
Well, we talked about, with the last housing element process, we talked about, do we want to allow those detached accessory structures 10 feet off property line to be full-time occupied to meet our affordable housing requirement, and there was a resounding no.
Okay.
That is too close to the
Right.
adjacent neighbors. Oh, I think came up with a really good compromise of allowing some bump out into the setbacks and exempting it from floor area is what's really attracting people.
okay,
So we are seeing constructions of second dwelling units. I don't know whether they're being occupied as such, but we're able to report to the state that yes, we are seeing development of second dwelling units that can be full-time occupied.
okay, so that was my double click on that one, was just to make sure that we're not
But then
getting
it's
in
got
our own
that
way.
larger setback
Right.
to kind of protect the
Yeah.
private
Yeah.
property.
no worries.
And an effect on the Heritage Court, we allowed
Right, that's
the individual to go into the side setback the same amount that you're allowed on the second dwelling unit.
Yeah, okay, that's good. All right, as long as we weren't getting in our own way, that's what I was double checking on.
Yeah, and we are, we're working on the update to the housing element. So we're going to have a public outreach meeting in early November just to hear some comments, what are people interested in? And then we'll be, kind of coming forward with some recommendations. And at this point, we really think we can meet our housing objective without big changes to the code.
Good,
Because
good.
we did that last time.
Right,
And it's working well.
Yeah.
And the schools still intend to show that they're going to do the faculty housing on site, which is.
Helps you.
Really
Helps us.
really does.
right, good.
How many have come, how many second dwellings, or should I?
I don't remember the exact number. I mean, we had, I think, 3 or 4 that we could find in the records over the last 6, like before the ordinance was changed.
Yeah, and then we're getting
I mean,
10
I
more?
see
probably 8 to 10.
easily, I
Yeah.
see 1 to 2 a month,
Oh, really?
easily.
So it's working.
It's working, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
and we're tracking it so we can report
Yeah.
that out.
Okay, good. Well, on this matter, let's have staff bring it back as a change in the ordinance with their suggestion.
The two wordings that we have here.
Put in twice, and if you have some other thoughts on how to define, temporary occupancy, why don't you bring it to the next meeting?
We can do a little research on
Yeah,
that as
you're,
well.
you'll be better at this than I will for
Sure.
a recommendation on it, but with that, as long as we're comfortable that we've done consideration for normal use and solved the real problem we're
Yeah.
solving, that's all I'm looking for.
You know, it may be something that's kind of a vacation rental, I'm just thinking Atherton's so unique, but we'll do a little research.
All right,
see what
good,
we can
and
find.
don't make it a big science project, just.
As a practical matter, the in-laws could stay there for 60 days and nobody would know the difference.
Well, the
Well,
horse is
and
already.
that is something that came
Yeah.
up, is if we have this limitation,
It's
and
way
they're
over.
gonna stay longer, they gotta be quiet.
Yeah, right,
Yes,
Yeah.
that's the
Right.
biggest
That's
thing.
true.
yeah.
Maybe they gotta
Yeah.
be quiet and they can't be in-laws.
By definition. Did
We
you want me
can't
to write
take you
that into the
All right,
Wow.
you're gonna be living in the
You're
pool
gonna
house.
get-
It's gonna be more than 30 days for you.
At our next
So we'll
meeting,
bring it back, outlined as an ordinance, so that would be a public hearing, we would
Yeah.
put the ad in the newspaper.
yes,
You can make some minor modifications to it at the meeting though, if you wish. Yeah, great.
okay,
Cool.
all right. I think we've finished our discussion, and so unless someone has something else to bring up, this is the formal meeting. All right, then let's make the
To
adjournment.
adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
9
Aye.
seconds on that one.
Yeah. Quick.